One Great Earth. My name is Dan. Thank you for being here tonight. I have a few articles, few stories to get into today. From the Washington Post, more than 1.5 billion people have faced dangerous heat this year. A Washington Post analysis of a trove of meteorological records shows the extent of life-threatening heat across the globe. You only hear the horror stories, the intensive care unit at a hospital in Mali, where 102 patients died of heat-related ailments in just 4 days in early April. The ammunition warehouse at a Cambodian military base that overheated and exploded later that month, killing 20 soldiers. Howler monkeys dying by the dozens in Mexico's scorching spring heat, their lifeless bodies tumbling from tree limbs. Yet anecdotes, however outrageous, cannot capture the scale and scope of heat that descended upon the planet this spring. By the end of May, more than 1.5 billion people, almost one-fifth of the planet's population, endured at least one day with the heat index topped 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Apologies if my camera is blinking in and out, which it is. I have a new camera on order for tomorrow, and that should eliminate all the problems that I'm having right now with this current setup. San Antonio, 3 days. This is January through May. Colombia, 41 days. Nigeria, 87 days, very dangerous. Ghana, 32 days. Mumbai, 36 days. Bangladesh, 45 days. Bangkok, 76 days. Singapore, 42 days. Vietnam, 61 days. On May 4th, the heat index in Bangkok topped 117 degrees Fahrenheit amid a Southeast Asian heat wave that shattered temperature records across the continent. 6 days later, Thailand's health ministry announced that 61 people had died from the heat. The Bangkok metro area's 18 million inhabitants are among the 111 million people who suffered at least 60 days of dangerous heat in the first 5 months of the year. A post-analysis of weather stations records from more than 14,000 cities showed. Taken together, the cities included in the analysis are home to slightly less than half the world's population, so the actual number of people exposed to dangerous heat is probably much higher. The heat index accounts for temperature and humidity to better capture the threats heat poses to human health than temperature alone. Exposed to a heat index of 103 degrees, a healthy person will probably suffer heat cramps and heat exhaustion, and prolonged exposure can cause heat stroke. Much lower heat indexes have proved deadly for vulnerable people, such as those elderly and those who are taking medications that inhibit sweating. When quantifying heat's threat to the human body, it is important to account for humidity because it undermines our natural defenses against the heat. With more moisture in the air, sweating fails to cool us down as efficiently. With more moisture in the air, sweating fails to cool us down as effectively. That makes it harder to regulate our core temperature, and it's our core temperature rather than the temperature we take in with a thermometer that gets us in trouble on hot days. The heart really doesn't like to get warmer, said Christy Eby, an epidemiologist at the Center of Health in the Global Environment at the University of Washington, adding that about half of all heat-related deaths are caused by cardiovascular problems. Heat illness can cause muscle spasms, dizziness, vomiting, headaches, confusion, fainting, and loss of consciousness. Even able-bodied people can fall victim to extreme heat. People typically are not aware that they're getting into trouble with the heat until they're really getting into trouble with the heat. You see people out there doing activities where it's quite warm and suddenly somebody collapses. As global warming has nudged temperatures higher, days with dangerous heat have grown more common. Bangkok's 76 days of dangerous heat are a record for this point of the year, according to meteorology data beginning in 1979. It is also more than double the city's average. Other cities follow a similar pattern. Lagos, Nigeria, for instance, has faced 13 times as many dangerous heat days this year than average. Below you can see the number of days with dangerous heat between the January and May has risen in a selection of large cities. These cities are part of a trend playing out across the planet. Of 150 cities with more than 1 million people that face at least one dangerous heat day on average by the end of May, 135 had more dangerous heat days than average this year. Nigeria, India here, Thailand here in the middle, Angola, bottom middle, Vietnam, and then Pakistan. Major heating days compared to previous years. You know, just every other year. 12th month in a row is the hottest month in a row, breaking records all over the globe. In the northern hemisphere, summer hasn't even arrived yet in what scientists project could be the hottest year in recorded history, breaking the record set last year. Researchers have linked the rising temperatures to the El Nino climate pattern and decades of emissions of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. Long-term projections indicate that future warming will also lead to milder winters, sparing people in the wealthy global north, but in hotter, less wealthy countries, the places where people are least able to buy air conditioners, where poor laborers can least afford to miss work, where water is scarcer and the power grid shakier, summer heat will grow more dangerous. There is, however, a morbid silver lining to heat waves' lengthening duration. When a heat wave hits, mortality starts to rise after about 24 hours as people unable to cool themselves down at night begin to perish, Debbie told me. But at a certain point, the death rate drops. Those most susceptible to heat ravages have already passed away, leaving behind a population more fortified against the danger. A healthy adult can handle more days. It may not be pleasant, but frankly, people have done this for millennia. It's the people who are more susceptible to the heat who think they need to think about. As the population is aging and taking more prescription medications, the pool of people who are susceptible is much larger. This is the Washington Post climate lab columnist Harry Stevens, June 7th. Now, as for from Baltimore to Detroit, high heat led to early dismissals. It's a dangerous trend of schools being let out and schools not being able to be in session due to these high temperatures. You get high humidity and high heat, and schools can't take it. And it's only the beginning of the year. It's only the beginning of the season. Summer's just right around the corner. This article goes into a lot about how many schools today do not have air conditioning, and they were built without air conditioning in mind. So to be able to retrofit an air conditioning system in these buildings, it would cost an exorbitant amount of money. It might be more prudent to just demolish the buildings and rebuild. Seriously. Some of these buildings, like, there's just no way that you're getting central cooling in these places. More than 13,700 public schools in the United States did not meet air conditioning in 1970. Need it today. So if the school didn't need air conditioning in 1970, they need it today. It's that simple. Climate change, sea level rise is all connected because it all comes around. The estimated cost of this huge investment exceeds $40 billion. Like, I remember being in class without central cooling or central heating. School built for to be windy, cavernous, to be able to have a lot of wind tunnels, a lot of areas that you open the door and ooh. These are Philadelphia, 3.7 degrees warmer Fahrenheit, warmer since 1970. Aging schools built for a different climate. Like all these schools built for a different climate. And the students are going to suffer. Students are, kids today, this generation coming out, are priced out of everything, will have the most expensive college, very strange amount of different job roles they can take from different industries. I mean, you get a lot of choices these days, and that must make it more difficult. Having more choices would make it more difficult, especially when it seems like there's a lot of different options in life. Let's see here. At least 2 countries have lost their glaciers. Two countries lose glaciers. 2 countries, Slovenia, I am having way too many cabin problems because it is very distracting to count me blink in and out. Oh, I think I will leave this here for later, for tomorrow. When my new camera arrives, I'll be able to use that, and that should fix a lot of the issues I'm currently having with my current setup.
Slovenia. Slovenia.
2 countries, Slovenia, benchmark showing the progression of climate change. Climate Wire. This is from scientificamerican.com. Slovenia and Venezuela are the first 2 countries to lose their last standing glaciers in a period of climate change induced by people, but they won't be the last. Some news outlets reported this month that Venezuela might be the first country in modern times to lose all of its glaciers. However, researchers told E&E News that Slovenia likely claimed the solemn title more than 3 decades ago. The last 2 glacial remnants have not moved, and there were no glacial crevices observed from the last few decades. These characteristics define real glaciers. Melting glaciers are one of the tectonic consequences of human-caused climate change, and even Arctic countries like Iceland have lost whole glaciers. But Slovenia and Venezuela appear to be the first countries since the 18th century to lose their last glaciers. It comes as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change expects 18 to 36% of global glacial mass to be lost across the 21st century due to large part to global warming. A May post on X, formerly Twitter, by climatologist Maximilio Herrera drew attention to the decline of the La Corona, Venezuela's last glacier, by citing December measurements from the Universidad de los Andes, showing a remaining area of 0.02 square kilometers. The disappearance of all the glaciers in Venezuela is a national tragedy. It is a warning sign about the avalanche of additional effects that are coming to the country in a short term as a consequence of global warming. There's no universally accepted point of depth of glacier, and no international organization is recognized as the authority on glacial classification. But Centeno said that the minimum size for a glacier is 0.1 square kilometers. The United States Geological Survey also uses that threshold and says it's a commonly accepted guideline. So there's less of a fraction left of the glacier in Venezuela. It's not even a glacier left anymore by its own standards. In Slovenia, Skuda's area has been under 0.1 square kilometers since at least 1969, and Triglav fell into the threshold in 1986. La Corona in Venezuela likely lost its glacial status in 2016. Havsik and Centeno say that beyond the size threshold, the remnant glaciers in Slovenia and Venezuela aren't acting like they used to. Two basic characteristics for the real glaciers are their moving and the presence of glacial crevices. The amount of ice at that peak of Triglav is the area of 2 volleyball courts, while Skuda's shaded position has offered it double that surface area, 0.01 square kilometers. The low altitude and latitude of both glaciers made them more vulnerable to climatic extremes, and they succumb to rising temperatures. Centeno said that the further melting in 2022 of Venezuela's La Corona is a shell of its former glacial status. La Corona, he said, is an unburied corpse in the advanced state of decomposition. The loss of these glaciers and those to follow will carry heavy environmental consequences. The Slovenia glaciers both melt into the Black Sea, and La Corona empties into the Caribbean, contributing to rising global sea levels that are expected to wreak havoc on coastal communities. The other thing too is like these people that are trying to prepare, like billionaires trying to prepare for the end for climate change. It doesn't matter where they are, where they pretend they're safe. There's nowhere that's safe. And the places you thought were safe are not going to have running water, not going to have any water ever again. It is a clear and resounding warning for the rest of Latin America, Centeno said. The consequences of the inevitable loss of the glaciers of Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia will have a social impact much greater than that of Venezuela, due to the dependence of much larger populations on water sources dependent on these glaciers. Mexico's last glacier, its Gran Norte, is expected to lose its status sometime between 2026 and 2033 and completely gone by 2045. Its runoff has provided downstream communities with water for centuries. La Corona was the last of the 5 white eagles, glaciers that cap the mountains above the city of Merida. Centeno said its demise to call to action on climate change. What are we waiting for to act? Merida is no longer in the city of eternal snows. The 5 white eagles have disappeared. We have destroyed them, annihilated them. They are among the first Venezuelan victims of global warming. Many others gather at the gates of extermination, not only plants, animals, water sources, and fertile soils, but humans, many humans. Very powerful article. It was a lot better than I anticipated is from May 25th, 2024, from Scientific American, Francisco Macho, and E&E News. No more glaciers. This last one's quick. Wild horses return to Kazakhstan steppes after absence of 2 centuries. 7 Perovsky's horses, the only true wild species of the animal in the world, flown to Central Asian country from zoos in Europe. So there's 7 horses, 4 mares, and 2 other mares from Prague, 4 from Berlin. People are known to have been riding and milking horses in northern Kazakhstan for nearly 2,000 years before the first records of domestication in Europe. The horses, 6 mares and a stallion. Did I say that? Mares from Prague. Okay. And that one horse will have 5 lady horses. Originally, 8 horses had been scheduled to travel, said Mazik, but one horse sat down before the flight from Prague and had to be unloaded and returned to Prague Zoo. Sat down? For the horse sit down, they gotta keep standing? He was just a little dizzy returning, but he is fine now. These horses have to stand for the entire journey. They can't sit down, mainly because their blood needs to circulate properly. It is a 30-hour journey in total, and the horses will only survive if they stand all the way. Damn. There are now about 1,500 of the wild horses in Mongolia. A total of 40 horses are planned to be transported to central Kazakhstan over the next 5 years. Rewild the wild. Exactly. Alright, well, I apologize for the quality of this video. The camera is just going in and out, blinking in and out of existence, and lagging terribly. Also, the flash turns off as well, so new camera tomorrow. We'll get rid of this problem and never have to worry about it again, and just worry about streaming instead of all the troubleshooting that goes with just being able to get my video. Alright, that is all I have for now. I thank you for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. Helps keep me motivated to keep doing these videos. Yeah, exactly. Wild horses. Alright. Please take care.